59. Right, we'll make a start. So good evening everyone and welcome to tonight's council meeting. First I wish to acknowledge the Wadawurrung people and all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are with us here this evening and dialing in. So this meeting is being broadcast on the internet and will be recorded and published on council's website. Before we move into the agenda proper, there's a couple of matters I'd like to address. First one is, on behalf of the City Grade Geelong, I extend our deepest condolences to the family of Shane Dowling, his wife Anna, his children Tim and Angus, and extended family. Shane Dowling was a former councillor and mayor of the City of Greater Geelong and a personal friend of a number of us here, including myself. Shane was a very dedicated public servant who was committed to the community. He served as a councillor with the City of Greater Geelong from 2001 until 2008, and he was the mayor of the City of Greater Geelong from 2004 and until 2008. And during that time, he was known for his integrity, strong leadership and civic responsibility. Prior to service in Geelong, Shane also held the office of Mayor of South Melbourne and served as distinction as an Inspector of Victoria Police, both here and across Victoria. So Shane will be remembered by many people of the City of Greater Geelong and more broadly. And our hearts also go out and best wishes to the community in Port Punkah, who we've heard this tragic event has occurred this afternoon involving Victoria Police that's still playing out. So there's some a serious situation is still playing out, and it just shows, and those of us who have got Victoria Police members in the family, when they go to work, they don't really know what they're going to face, and every day is a life and death situation. So an attack against Victoria Police is attack against civil society. Recently we had the news that the licence for the proposed Lara Waste incinerator has been denied by Recycling Victoria, which is greatly welcomed by the community, including people who are here tonight and those who have been long involved in campaigning over many years. I'm sure that's very welcome news. The City of Greater Geelong has been on the record for a long time in support of the community, and the former Mayor and I have both written on behalf of the Council to the Minister for Planning about the concerns with the proposal, including its proximity to homes and the potential for adverse health effects and air pollution. However, the fight's not over, and I see there are members of the community here tonight. I'm sure we'll be making that point, as a future licence could still be granted, potentially. So it's vital that this project is ruled out for good by the Minister for Planning, which is why I have again written on behalf of the City of Greater Geelong and this council to express the clear view of the community on this issue, namely that we are opposed to it in any shape or form. I'll keep the community informed of the response that I ultimately get from the Minister, and no doubt we'll hear from other members of the community tonight during question time. So first of all, there are no apologies this evening, but I note that Councillor Melissa Cadwell is joining us. That's right, is it? Has she? Not yet, but she's intimated that she'll be joining us by dialling in. So then if we can move to leave of absence, the first that, can I have someone move and second that leave of absence be granted to Councillor Cadwell for the period 18th of August till the 21st of August, inclusive. So Councillor Sinclair and Councillor Story. So all those in favour? That's unanimous. And then also, may I have someone move and then second the motion that leave of absence be granted to Councillor Rowan Story for the dates 3 September 2025 to 9 September 2025. Councillor Wilkinson and Councillor Nelson. So all those in favour? So that's carried unanimously likewise. Declarations of conflict of interest. Are there any declarations that anyone needs to note this evening? No, so let the record show. We then move into confirmation of minutes of meeting, of the meeting held on the 22nd of July 2025. Councillor Katos, move. Councillor Burson, second. All those in favour? That's carried. So now, public question time. There are a series of questions have been submitted, and I'll call them out as they appear in my sheet here. So the first one is Dash Nearing. Dash Nearing? No. Owen Willoughby. Owen Willoughby? No. Dr. Britt Olsen. Olsen? No. Sally Fisher? Fisher? No. Howard Smith?
To start with, just like to let you know I'm a member of the Geelong Housing Action Group. The City of Greater Geelong's social housing plan plans recommended strategies and actions. They state, Council will increase the supply of social housing through the provision of the city's owned land for the social housing developments and a new requirement for all developments of the city's own land for social housing developments to contribute to the increasing the supply of social housing. While I acknowledge that the Council did provide one parcel of land at Purnell Road, Corio, hardly a groundbreaking contribution at this time of a continuing housing crisis. The Council's report identifies another possible 117 sites. At the same time, we are seeing Council selling off council land as well as a stated proposal for the selling off of parcels of land at 5A Dean Street, Belmont, and 14 Rowlands Road, Bell Post Hill, which were previously identified for allocations in the social housing plan. Mayor, I'd just like to say, you said in January this year that the Council should consider a mass sell-off of council land to reduce council debt. Can Council explain why they are selling off land that was earmarked for social housing and how this aligns to the recommendations and actions of the social housing plan? This plan recommends supporting the inclusion of mandatory planning controls. The plan also indicates that Council will be advocating to the state government for the inclusion of mandatory planning controls and planning for the provision of affordable housing. The plan also outlines council planners negotiating Section 173 with current property developers in our region. Can council please outline what steps are currently being undertaken to meet this action and its likely outcome for changes to the social housing plan of Geelong?
For your question, I omitted to say that we will be providing an answer now as best we can, and also will respond in writing. So I'll refer to Executive Director for Placemaking, Tennealle Bradley, please.
Thanks, Mayor Contell. And thanks for your questions, Howard, both of them. There was two in there, so I'll answer them both together at the same time, so thank you. In 2021, the land at 5A Dean Street and 2 to 14 Rollins Road were identified as potential locations for social housing during an audit of council-owned land as part of the city's social housing plan 2020 to 2041. The city engaged with the community in 2022 to discuss the use of council-owned land for social housing. While some community members supported the proposal for the sites, a significant proportion expressed concerns or opposition to its use for housing. In regards to your second question, and in that second question you referred to mandatory planning controls for inclusionary zoning, Council on its own are not empowered and will not be able to unilaterally implement a mandatory and broad-based inclusionary zoning through planning scheme under the Planning and Environment Act 1987 without any changes to the current planning provisions and related planning process, which is led by the state government. We have been advocating for the mandatory inclusion for affordable housing with state government agencies through specific project channels, such as the former Warn Ponds Athletics Village, which is currently ongoing. The city relies on our current policies, internal processes, internal resources and expertise to negotiate for inclusion of social and affordable housing. We are focused on increasing the participation by developers on major planning projects and developments in the city, with recent success on the Jetty Road Stage 2 development.
Thank you. Thanks for that response. If I can now, no, there's no debate, sorry. And I'll just say that in relation to those couple of properties, there is a submissions review panel coming up where there'll be further opportunity for people to make submissions, and they will also be taken on board in the consideration of those sites. All right.
So is it in the context, or we're just talking about those two?
There'll be a number of properties. Well, yes. I think there's 5. Submitter is Ian Shepherd.
Evening, councillors. Being relatively new to this process, I was made aware of in relation to the previous question, the response to the previous consultation, and it made me think about what would happen if something similar was to be proposed in my area. So I live in Manifold Heights. We've got a street with quite a variety of different housing types, and in some ways that might be the ideal to have a variety of housing types mixed rather than concentrated types. So I was asking myself what would happen in the case of a proposal being put, and I found it hard to imagine that to be able to get a positive response for social housing in that environment. So it seems to me that there's a lot of education that is required in order for people to fully understand the sorts of issues. So, I'm just wondering, how can council take an educative role in terms of seeking more positive outcomes for this area?
I'll refer again to Executive Director for Placemaking, Tenniel Bradley.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Any further consultation processes for the use of land for social housing will be undertaken in accordance with Council's community engagement policy. As per our consultation processes, we design our consultation to be inclusive, accessible and seek a diverse range of perspectives. It will also provide accessible information to support meaningful participation. We also learn from each engagement experience and review it to improve future engagement practices, as we will from our previous engagement on the...
Neil, thank you. Thanks for your question. Angela Carr.
Mayor and councillors. So I should say I'm also part of Geelong Housing Action Group. So my first question is, the start of August marked National Homelessness Week. So we watch with interest as the council announced on social media the formation of a homelessness working group, a collaboration between council, local community service organisations and Deakin University. We welcome any type of initiative seeking to explore and end this human rights crisis in our community. Excuse me. With all the existing research and documentation already commissioned on this issue by all levels of government, can you please tell us what the aims, objectives and priorities of this newly formed homelessness working group will be?
Thank you. Thank you for your question. I'll refer that one to the Executive Director of City Life, Anthony Basford, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks for the question, Angela. The Greater Geelong Homelessness Working Group aims to strengthen the partnership approach to responding to homelessness within the Geelong municipality. The objectives and priorities of this working group are to work collaboratively to enable the continuous improvement of services to support people experiencing homelessness in the region, to gain a shared understanding of the current situation of homelessness in Greater Geelong region by sharing local data, identifying and addressing emerging issues, responding as a collective and collaborating on projects, policy and funding initiatives, to have clear understanding of the role of each organisation in responding to homelessness, and to identify opportunities for action, collaboration and information sharing between organisations to support people experiencing homelessness in the Greater Geelong region.
Thank you. With interest. Okay, so my second question is, during Homelessness Week, while promoting the Homelessness Working Group, Council compliance officers were busy confiscating the bedding and possessions of young people sleeping rough along the Barwon River. This can only be viewed as a cruel and heartless action taken by Council, especially when overnight temperatures are dropping to below freezing in our region. Councillors may be aware that there have already been 2 deaths of people experiencing homelessness on our streets this winter. People experiencing homelessness shamefully have a life expectancy of 45, and this can be attributed to the harsh elements that they experience: lack of access to quality food, medical care, social and employment opportunities. And what underpins this disadvantage is access to safe and secure housing. We have a systematic crisis in our community, and as a social worker, I know from experience that there is limited to no crisis accommodation available to people in need, and that includes children. People under 18 are turned away from our homelessness entry points every day. What you may not be aware of is people under the age of 18 are frequently unable to be housed in motels, which is our main use of crisis accommodation in the region, due to being minors. And refuges for young people rarely have vacancies due to high demand. So these young people find themselves homeless due to child abuse and family violence. They deeply traumatise young people and often end up on the street, as it's simply not safe at home. So our question is, where is Council's duty of care to the young and vulnerable in our community? Can Council please explain how removing the possessions of traumatised children is in line with community expectations and the values of Council in supporting the most vulnerable in our community?
I'll put that to Anthony again, if you could please.
Yeah, thank you, Angela, for your advocacy in this space. It's a very complex issue that we all know, and certainly the access to social and affordable housing, particularly for young people, is even more complex and challenging. The city, though, works in partnership with agencies that support those that are experiencing homelessness, sleeping rough and are at risk of homelessness, and has a legislative requirement to investigate requests where concerns have been raised in relation to health, amenity, and access to public spaces and places. The city intervenes when belongings are abandoned, accumulate to the point of creating health and safety risks, or obstruct pedestrian access in public spaces. These actions are never intended to target or penalise vulnerable members of our community, and we understand that this can be a very distressing time for those people. When engagement does occur, the city works very closely with other homelessness support services to ensure that the individuals are offered direct assistance, including referrals to housing, health care and other essential services. And our aim is always to connect people with the help they need, not to displace them or further disadvantage them. Matters involving criminal activity and public safety concerns, as you would be well aware, are managed by Victoria Police in accordance with their jurisdiction.
Thank you for your questions. Thank you.
Need a little bit more kindness to young people in winter. Yeah, thank you.
Ross Kroger.
CEO Alley Waste, councillors and members of the public. In the Highton Reserve, Barrable Road, Highton, opposite Montague Street, there was a sign labelled Bird Walk, B-I-R-D. When the children's playground equipment was constructed, the Bird Walk sign disappeared. Can the council tell me what the history of this sign is and its significance, and why wasn't the Bird Walk sign kept?
For you, Anthony. Not sure what a bird sign is, but
And thank you, Ross. You've certainly thrown a curly one at us on this question. Our records indicate that the playground was upgraded in 2009, with the sign likely being removed at some point during those works, and officers will require a bit more time to investigate the history of this, so I can't give you a full answer tonight, other than to say you certainly have created quite an interest in the organisation to understand what this was, where it was and why it was removed and why it was there in the first place. So we will come back to you with a bit more information about this particular Birdwalk sign.
I may assist you with that, Anthony.
That's at the discretion of the Mayor.
There was a gentleman by the name of Murray Bird from Drysdale, and Murray Bird made or refrigerated backs for small trucks. And on the back of his every little van, like you'd rent, it had Body by Bird. Murray Bird was responsible for that Highton Reserve occurring. His family participated in that Highton Reserve, and Murray Bird from Drysdale, he ran an engineering works, obviously, and even in recent times he used to go in there and do jobs for volunteers and other places. And I think Mr Bird, having been seminal in the establishment of the Highton Reserve, his family, making the land there, that Bird Walk wasn't about feathered friends.
it's helpful. So maybe, and if need be, we can follow up with Ross a bit further.
Mr.
So then
Bird,
you had a second question?
My second question was, having received the rates notice, the rates letter states that the overall rate increase is 2.5%. How is it the rates have increased by 4.48%, my rate notice, when the valuation is the same? I guess there are a lot of rated valuations that have increased by less than 2.5% as stated.
Question. Executive Director for Corporate Services, Troy Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks for your question, Mr Kroger. For the 2025-26 rating year, the state government set the annual rate cap at 3%, and this limits the total revenue that council can raise from general rates. At the same time, council made a decision that we would increase our rates by 2.5%, recognising that the cost of living is a major challenge for our community. At the same time, the average residential capital improved value was $752,392, and that CIV had decreased by 1.9% from the previous year. If your CIV valuation movement was higher than this rate, the rates portion of your rates notice will increase by more than the 2.5%, and by the invoice, as you pointed out, if your CIV valuation was lower than this rate, your rates will decrease. If you have particular questions about your property and the rating breakdown, you're more than happy to contact our customer service centre that can provide you with that detail.
Thank you, Ross, for that.
I'll do with mine. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Mayor
you for that.
Contel. Thank you, councillors.
We then Jean Nell.
Evening, councillors. Background, I'm a member of Cool Geelong. Our purpose, we're a community group, is to instigate action and support the preservation and expansion of the Greater Geelong urban forest. And our focus is responsive tree management to support sustainable living. Now, in that context, my first question. The Tree Protection on Private Land consultation report is conspicuously absent from tonight's meeting agenda. A council staff member did contact me last week to advise me that the report will not be tabled, but instead that it's deferred to the September meeting. While I very much appreciated the outreach, this ongoing postponement and the resulting delay in progress is deeply disappointing. Council resolved in July 2022 to allocate resources and deliver a report by 30 June 2023. The report was eventually tabled in February 2024, more than 8 months late, but without community consultation. Only after community advocacy did Council commit to engage directly with stakeholders and the broader community. But it took another whole year for that consultation to eventuate. Despite repeated commitments in June and July 2024 that findings would be reported in the first quarter of 2025, the actual survey didn't open until February 2025. Since then, tabling of the findings has been postponed twice, from June to August, and then from August to September 2025. Tonight, the private tree report and recommendations are 2 years, 1 month, and 27 days overdue. We now seem set to lose another month. The report addresses issues which we've been raising since January 2021. It's 4.5 years later, and Council still has not taken meaningful steps to manage trees on private land. My question, can Council explain why the feedback findings report has been delayed again, and when it intends to publish the Tree Protection on Private Land report for community response?
All right, I'll refer to the Executive Director for Placemaking, to Neil Bradley, to respond.
Hi, Jean. So good to see you. So the Tree Protection on Private Land report is on the agenda for the September Council meeting. And the report will be released in connection with this, so we look forward to seeing you then, no doubt. The Urban Forest Strategy is currently under review and will bridge some of the topics being discussed with regards to tree protection. In addition, the state government, through Plan for Victoria, have also highlighted the need for increased tree canopy cover and its inclusion in the Victorian planning scheme.
A second question. I noted that the City of Greater Geelong Community Health and Wellbeing Strategy 2025 to 29, adopted by Council in July 2025, includes, and I quote, progress towards planting 1 million new trees in Greater Geelong by 2030, as a measure under climate change and health impacts. However, in response to public questions in this chamber, Council has indicated that owing to a lack of available council land, the city has shifted its focus from a target-based tree planting approach to a broader greening initiative for Geelong. A question, given the restatement of the goal to plant 1 million new trees in Greater Geelong by 2030, can Council confirm whether the city physically has the space, can Council confirm that it owns sufficient land to accommodate 1 million new trees, and how will adequate progress be targeted and measured?
I will refer to Executive Director, but what I can tell you, Jean, is that this council, and we've been talking a lot about trees, are big fans of trees, and we've been looking for opportunities to increase planting trees. And the Nature Festival recently there were plantings all throughout Greater Geelong. Trees are being planted, if you drive around, huge numbers, probably more than ever before. And as Mayor, I am a big fan of trees and tree planting. And there has been a focus on tree planting like you wouldn't believe, but I'll hand to the Executive Director. To the Executive Director.
Thank you, Carol. The principles and opportunities identified in the 1 million trees plan will be incorporated into the review of the Urban Forest Strategy, which we've commenced work on, and we anticipate that a draft version of the Urban Forest Strategy will be sent out for community consultation either later this year or early next year.
Thank you. Just a point of clarification, Mayor. One, the question is not planting, it is preservation of mature trees. And then two, my question was, can Council confirm whether the city physically has the space, whether it owns sufficient land? And I don't think that, I didn't get a response to that question.
That up with the written response if we could. I'm not sure the logistics of what that looks like, but I understand what your point is, and you've made it again, and we'll make sure that in the written response maybe we can turn our minds to that more specifically.
Thank you very much.
We are very tree friendly and shrub friendly and greening friendly, I assure you.
As long as we remember we can't outplant it, we also have to preserve.
1 million trees need to be planted, so that's not preservation, that's planting. We're doing everything. Chrissy Freestone.
Thank you very much for taking my questions, which are in a similar vein to Jean's. I'm also a member of the Cool Geelong group, but also concerned resident about the rapidly decreasing tree canopy, and it's that there are initiatives for planting, but as Jean pointed out, it is also about mature tree, which is very important because, as you know, trees take a very long time to reach maturity, particularly the 15 to 20 years, and that's a long time to wait and a long time for areas to be very exposed once they've disappeared. So, like Jean, I was very disappointed to discover that the tree protection on private land report has once again been delayed out to September. Council initially resolved in July 2022, as you know, to complete it by June 23, yet it wasn't tabled until February 2024, and without community input. Consultation didn't occur until a year later, and despite assurances of reporting in early 2025, the findings have been deferred multiple times, as you know. So this means the report is now over 2 years overdue, despite residents advocating for action since January 2021. In the meantime, trees on private property, including those properties being redeveloped, continue to be clear-felled, with ongoing lasting impact on the overall tree canopy of Geelong, despite Council's commitment to preserving Geelong's urban forest, in its own words, to cool neighbourhoods, improve air quality, enhance biodiversity and boost livability, with targets to increase tree canopy cover and achieve carbon neutrality. So could Council please provide an update on the timeline for the tree protection on private land report and outline the next steps to ensure the findings are delivered and acted upon?
The question, I'll refer back to the Executive Director for Placemaking, Tennealle Bradley, please.
Thanks, Chrissy. Appreciate your question. As you know, the City has a number of policies, strategies and reports relevant to tree protection across the City, and we've spent time just trying to ensure that there's alignment with all the work being pursued across the organisation. As I mentioned previously, the Urban Forest Strategy is currently under review and will bridge some of the topics being discussed with regards to tree protection. We also welcome the news that the state government, through Plan for Victoria, have also highlighted the need for increased tree canopy and its inclusion in the Victorian planning scheme. The tree protection on private land report is on the agenda for the September Council meeting.
And my second question is in relation also to the Million Trees project, which I understand has been rescoped. So could Council please provide an update on this initiative, specifically what detailed planning or strategy work has been undertaken so far, and whether particular sites have been identified for inclusion, and how progress will be monitored to ensure the 2030 goal can be realistically achieved?
Mayor, Council's Million Trees project, as I mentioned before, is now part of the Urban Forest Strategy, which is currently being developed. While the Plan for Nature focuses on reserves and biodiversity, and the Open Space Strategy looks after parks and recreation areas, the Urban Forest Strategy connects the dots, greening our streets, nature streets and underused spaces and linking them to the larger reserves. This helps connect our community with nature while also improving health and wellbeing. The Urban Forest Strategy will include mapping of priority planting sites, such as growth areas and suburbs with low canopy cover, and will introduce a more complete process that captures planting across council, the private sector and community groups. This will make it easier to track and evaluate the progress, whilst also strengthening green connections between open spaces and nature corridors. We are already working with community organisations such as Barwon Water, the CCMA and the Barwon Southwest Climate Alliance, and prioritising grant submissions focused on greening to deliver plantings as a shared effort. Progress will be monitored through the Urban Forest Strategy by tracking tree and plant numbers, canopy cover and community participation. Importantly, it will also serve as a launch pad for future funding bids internally, but also as a stronger collective for federal or state resilience grants. Together, these actions will help ensure we remain on track and ideally exceed our goal of 30% canopy cover.
Firstly, I hope that groups such as yours and others that are involved with environment do make application to these grant programs that we've currently got for practical, on the ground initiatives that add to the canopy of planting and trees, because for all those good reasons that you've cited, that's what I'd love to see happen in increased number.
I'll keep it brief this time. So more than a year or so ago, I was here asking very similar questions. And we still haven't fixed up the CBD. And even, I'm not even thinking of how we can do it instantly, but we haven't really done much since I spoke, probably 18 months ago, or I'm not quite sure at the time, but it's not cleaned up, it's not lit up, it's still a big problem, the CBD. I live in the CBD and I'm still running into problems. I still walk out on Saturday morning and there's still vomit and wee everywhere. The nightclub shouldn't be open till 7 a.m. in the morning. There's issues that I believe can be fixed fairly quickly, and it's not happening. And I don't know what the problem is. I know that the buses are such an issue, and I see it every day, and I would like that sort of fixed up. I haven't got my glasses. I'm getting old. Excuse me for a sec. My first question then, of course, is relating to the CBD. As a long-term resident now living in the CBD for 4 years, I'm extremely frustrated that our city centre's crime rate is increasing with vandalism, theft, unsupervised teenagers roaming late at night, and they're not all homeless actually, they've got their backpacks or their St Joey's jackets and they're doing something that's called lurking. One of the 16-year-old mums said, oh, he just goes out lurking. He's not lurking, he's vandalising the empty buildings, they're jumping on top of buildings, they're riding horny right across the top of the buildings out my window, and nothing's being done. So anyway, roaming late at night on ongoing problems at the Moorabool Street bus interchange. To make things worse, it also looks neglected and run down in many areas, and the CBD has not been properly tidied, cleaned. It is cleaned a little. And even the Geelong station, I've got heaps of photos, it's quite a mess. And money was allocated to that to renovate the station, but it's a mess. Cleaned or maintained, it gives a poor impression to both locals and visitors. For years we've heard about strategies, reviews and master plans, but on the ground things are actually getting worse, not better. What is the council planning to do in the immediate future, not years from now, to clean up, maintain and improve the safety and appearance of our CBD? And can you provide residents with a clear public timeline for when we will see visible, tangible results rather than just more promises? And again, as I said, it's not a criticism of the current council, it's just we need to do something now.
I will hand to Executive Director Tenille Bradley for her contribution.
Thanks, Trish. Good to see you. So the city recognises that community safety is a very important part of everyday life for all community members and visitors, and it's up to everyone, and all of us have a role to play in that. We manage the Safe City camera network, which is connected to and monitored by Victoria Police. As part of this network, additional CCTV cameras have recently been installed in the Little Warrari Street car park and at the intersection of Moorabool Street and Little Mallop Street. The city also works closely with various agencies focused on supporting community safety and participates in local community safety working groups meetings convened by Victoria Police. Whilst we are continuing with the longer-term strategic work, such as the Central Geelong Framework Plan, being implemented in partnership with the state government, we also have some immediate improvements and new projects underway to improve Central Geelong. One of these projects is a new public space on Warrari Street near the Village Cinemas, which will provide a new gathering place in Central Geelong and a new pedestrian connection through to Market Street, leading up to Myers Street, due for completion in November. We're also conducting works to Little Mallop Street Central, where our City Works team have removed the artificial turf and are cleaning and reinstating the pavement. These works will support the new weekly market, which will add further activation to this area near Market Square Shopping Centre in spring. The City is committed to maintaining a clean, safe and attractive CBD. In the immediate future, the Council plans to continue daily cleaning routines, including the thorough cleaning of public toilets, sidewalks and touch points. Additionally, the Council will prioritise prompt reporting in response to graffiti, vandalism and damage done through established channels to maintain the area's appearance and safety.
Then your second question, Trish.
Yep. The question's, it's still relating to the city, but it's specifically, and bear in mind, I am I'm a member of the LGBTQI+ community, but I feel that we've gone overboard with unisex, gender-neutral toilets. The other day, I was at, I don't know why you think it's funny. Down
Press me, Tricia.
Okay, sorry. 15 toilets down at Cunningham Pier. Every single one is gender neutral. Right, every single one is unisex. That's awesome. Well,
please just listen to the questions.
As I said, I'm part of the community anyway. So I do not appreciate walking in and finding wee all over the toilets. Generally, I fought hard for my rights as a woman in the 70s. I want a female toilet, I want a male toilet, and of course I want unisex toilets. But I want, a proper ratio of that. Not all unisex. I saw a man waiting, a little girl came out, he was sort of frightened, he thought, well shoot, I hope nobody thinks that I'm, that I'm standing here waiting for that little girl to come out, and I walk in confronted by a man. I don't like walking in and being confronted by a man in a toilet. I fought really hard for women to have rights to go to a women's bathroom or a sports women's area, and unisex is wonderful. It's brilliant. But don't take away my rights as a woman, don't take away your rights as a man, and have unisex as well. It doesn't need to be 15 unisex toilets where I go in and see toilet paper on the seat because a woman has come in and wants to sit down, but it's covered in wee. So think about it. It's not, I'm not anti.
I understand that.
Yeah. So my question is...
I think we get the gist of the question.
You got my question.
Councillor Tenniel.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Trish, all new builds and upgrades, they complete a gender impact assessment to explore implementing the recommendations of all gender facilities. Gender impact assessments generally recommend including an additional all gender facility in builds or upgrades. This is in addition to male and female facilities. It is important to note that gender impact assessment recommendations are also dependent on the size and layout of the building and the most appropriate facilities, ensuring we meet compliance with all relevant building codes. Thank you so much for your question, Trish.
Thank you for that. Thanks very much. Jenny Knox. Julie Speck. Charles Street.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. My name is Charles Street, Chaz from Lara. Mayor, I think you might have answered my question already at the opening of this session, but I'll ask my question if I may.
Yes.
Thank you. At our not-for-profit community group, No Waste Incinerators in Lara and Greater Geelong Incorporated, we are very pleased with the support from Council for a waste incinerator-free future for the City of Greater Geelong. Recently, we received advice that a CAP licence has not been granted for the Lara Big Incinerator. This is welcome, but not sufficient to stop the Lara Big Incinerator. We have written to the Premier seeking formal revocation of its EPA development licence and refusal of a planning permit. Would Council also please write to the State Government seeking written advice that the EPA licence has been revoked and the planning permit application refused, please?
Thank you, Charles. Thank you for your incredible work, and Councillor Burson has kept the Council appraised on a weekly basis in relation to all the great effort of the local community and the groups and the elected representatives. So it's really truly been a joint community effort, and I think that collective voice has sent a very clear message up the road, and the incinerator is certainly not wanted. And as I mentioned in the introductory comments, I have written only this week to the Minister to express our ongoing concern regarding the proposed Prospect Hill International Facility, and a very clear message that it's not welcome in Geelong, and want the Minister to rule out the project permanently and to provide assurance that no planning permit or future licence will be granted. So in absolutely clear terms. So a copy of that letter will be made available publicly on the Geelong Advertiser website, Geelong Australia website, and we'll look forward to receiving a response from the Minister, which we will also share through Councillor Burson back into the community. So continue to liaise through Councillor Burson, and we'll keep working together.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Burson, and thank you all councillors. Thank you very much.
So Pierre Debeu. No, and that's it. That's it. So that is it for question time. So thank you everyone for your questions and for your contributions. Petitions. We have a number of petitions tonight. We have two. I'll now invite Francis Collister to speak on behalf of the residents in tabling the petition regarding Clifton Springs footpath.
Evening, Mayor and councillors. I'm a little bit confused as to whether I read my petition or do I read the follow-up.
You can read the petition that you're tabling, and that'll be fine.
This is concerning the Clifton Springs Drysdale footpath system and the linking of... Now, we've got 29 of the 50 residents sign the petition in agreement with why. It says, we, the undersigned residents of Clifton Springs and the broader community, submit this petition for the Clifton Springs. Our concerns are the environmental impact on the Greenbelt area. Our street is one that runs to the bowling club through to the Dell and things, so it's not... I'll read it anyway. Clifton Springs is part of a quiet, low-traffic, no-through road that borders a designated greenbelt. The natural character of the area contributes to the local biodiversity and amenity of residents, and installing a concrete footpath would unnecessarily disturb the environment and diminish the street's current natural charm. The existing pathway already there is a well-established, functional and regularly used footpath on the opposite side of the street, which is a north side. It sufficiently serves the pedestrians' needs of the neighbourhood, rendering a second path redundant. The safety concerns the side proposed for the new footpath includes dangerous blind bend and making it also hazardous for pedestrians attempting to cross the road at that point. Engaging increased foot traffic on this side may inadvertently create new safety risks, particularly for children and older residents and those with mobility issues. We have a limited vehicle traffic as the Clifton Street is closed. It's a no-through road with limited vehicle activity. The necessity for an additional pedestrian pass does not meet a clear or urgent need, and the current infrastructure has proven sufficient over time without any incident. Now, I have brought photos.
That's fine, just to table that as you've done beautifully.
Yep.
So we'll consider that now tabled, and we'll, who will collect that from? Do you have the original there, do you?
No, I don't.
Ah, that's okay. Has that been tabled now? Yeah. Okay, it's considered tabled.
Okay,
Thank you.
beautiful.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Then there's a second petition, so I now call upon Councillor Eddie Contel to speak on behalf of residents in tabling a petition regarding Barton Street, Bell Park. Thanks, Mr Mayor. Essentially, green space, and it refers to the proposed sale of land at 48 to 58 Barton Street, Bell Park. It currently has 48 signatures. At a very high level, I guess what the petition's trying to achieve is for council to reconsider selling the land and allowing this to become a green space. Just a couple of dot points, if I may, Mr Mayor, just read out to give some content to it. Barton Street and Bell Park is about 483 metres long. We have 39 houses, 165 lifestyle unit houses, all required to access Barton Street, a primary school with 30 staff and 280 students, a 4-year-old kindergarten, and a 100-plus bed aged care facility, with the majority of the staff and visitors parking on Barton Street. All of this is without traffic lights to regulate flow onto Anarchy Road. What do we need? Our green space, doggy-do bin, and off-street parking. That's the petition, Mr Mayor. Yes, I consider that tabled. Thank you. So that is all for petitions and joint letters. So we now move to the reports. So the first report, according to my agenda, is the Rainbow Action Plan. So I have a mover, Councillor Sinclair and Councillor Wilkinson. So Councillor Sinclair moving.
Thank you very much. I have the wonderful responsibility this evening to present the Rainbow Action Plan to the Chamber. This is a result of nearly 18 months of careful collaboration. I'm sure some in the room would say it's been years, shaped by almost, most recent round of engagement, almost 700 community submissions. And it reflects the voices, experience and aspirations of our LGBTIQA+ community here in Geelong. I do say this every time I speak on this topic, but I do come before you as an ally, and it is a privilege for me to be able to present the plan and chair the advisory committee. But it's really important for me to always call out that I don't speak for the community. I'm here to listen and to learn, but I do sometimes have the opportunity in rooms like this to speak up, but I want to make sure that it's clear that I'm standing beside you and behind you, and working with you, not speaking for you. This plan responds to a real community need. We know that close to 10% of Geelong's adult population identifies as part of the rainbow community, yet we still see really high reports of people feeling unsafe in public spaces, or have experienced being treated differently because they present in a different way. Across Victoria, we've seen LGBTIQA+ people, especially in regional communities, which Geelong is a regional community, experience higher rates of anxiety, depression and family violence. Family violence is really poorly understood in the LGBTIQA+ community, and report poorer outcomes of health overall. So these are not abstract figures, these are real material issues faced by the community, and they affect people's safety, well-being and opportunities to thrive. And I think it's really worth remembering, we often talk about people all being equal under the law. It's only in the last 10 years we've had marriage equality, and that was federal legislation discriminating against a group. That change doesn't, the impact of that discrimination doesn't just go away within 5 or 6 years. It is material and ongoing, that sort of trauma. So that's why plans like this matter so much. So it is built on strong foundations. I think Geelong has done a lot of work in this space. So we do have the LGBTIQA+ Advisory Committee. There is the GASP program, which is universally adored. We've had the Rainbow Crossing in Yarra Street and a number of events throughout the community. And this plan just takes us the next step further with some really practical actions to drive change. And they're around understanding, and really taking a city-led approach as well. So we are leading the way with our organisation and our staff as one of the largest employers in the region. It's about inclusion, making sure people feel safe and included and welcome. It's really about visibility, so creating images of pride, symbols of pride, which again create a sense of safety. And safety being the most, I think, underpinning everything, the most important aspect of it, and making sure everyone feels safe, welcome and respected, particularly in council spaces. So each of these actions is tied to measurable indicators and progress will be tracked. Importantly, this plan has been designed within existing resources, so we're delivering it in-house with the resources we already have, and we're really committing to tangible actions, not just words. So I might just pause there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sinclair. Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you. I too stand behind as an ally behind my family, my friends and my community. As an ally and as a leader, I see the importance of stepping up. The burden of challenging discrimination, educating people and creating safety should not be sitting on the shoulders of the LGBTQIA+ community. While there's certainly been progress over the years in Geelong, it's never been more important to ensure we have a clear action plan to support and drive positive change. As we see a rise in hateful commentary and targeted discrimination born from extremist views, it's important as your local council that we are taking clear action. We recognise, respect and celebrate the diversity of gender, identities, sexual orientations and lived experiences. We value the rich contributions this diversity brings to our region and want people to feel that Geelong is a safe and inclusive place to live, work, play and grow. We have a plan with measurable actions. Community contribution has been critical to ensure this plan reflects the priorities with the 2 rounds of community engagement that Councillor Sinclair has outlined. We recognise the commitment and resilience of community. I deeply thank the community members for your work, council officers current and past who have put their hearts and their heads into this, previous councillors who have advocated for this plan, and the LGBTQIA+ Advisory Committee. This work strengthens our entire community around the 4 principles that Councillor Sinclair has outlined: understanding, inclusion, visibility, safety. Monitored, evaluated and reported on, both quarterly internally and through the LGBTQIA+ Advisory Committee. I know as a councillor I'll be very keen to engage and hear these updates and champion the work of all actions at each level. I'm excited about the actions that are pinned against each. So understanding an example is that there's some art projects that tell stories of and experiences of LGBTQIA+ stories. Visibility increasing plus content on Geelong website and reviewing and embedding inclusive languages across all our communications. Safety, working with the community to develop a clear and coordinated framework to respond to LGBTQIA+ phobic commentary and coverage in media on all platforms. These are strong steps and the beginning of a very clear path forward.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Laurie?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Supporting my colleagues, the Rainbow Action Plan that is before Council tonight represents a significant step forwards. A step that shows that Geelong is not only a clever and creative city, but also a caring and compassionate city. A city where all of its citizens are equal in dignity and rights. A city where all of its citizens can live without fear of discrimination or abuse. A city where all of its citizens can flourish to the full extent of their talents and abilities. But we should not take this significant step lightly. As you know, Mr Mayor, there are 195 countries on our fragile planet. In 64 of them, almost exactly a third, same-sex relations attract criminal sanctions. In 13 of those 64 countries, the sanctions include the death penalty. So we are very lucky that we have a city that is taking this step. I commend the report to the Council.
Story. Any other? Councillor Aitken?
We have our community vision from 2017 actually said we have to be an inclusive community and caring community. The headline of that community vision was clever and creative, but there was a third component which was about a caring and inclusive community. So it was way back in 2017 that the council in place started its understanding that the community was telling us that we did want a more inclusive Geelong. The most recent city plan that we've adopted said it as well too. It says we want to be a more inclusive community. It actually says we want to be a more caring community, and it puts equality as a way at which we can actually meet those aspirations that we have. And our health and wellbeing strategy also says that as well too, what we've just adopted for 25 to 29 as well too. And I think it is important to acknowledge the broader community that has been fighting for this council to adopt an action plan. It is important to acknowledge the local government Rainbow campaign. It actually started in 2020, which actually asked every councillor or candidate that was wanting to stand for local government to actually pledge to have a plan, a Rainbow Action Plan on their council, and it also asked you to pledge to establish an advisory committee as well too. Well, that campaign continued not just in 2020, it continued in 2024, and I look around the table here and there's a number of councillors that adopted that pledge and they said they would commit to bringing a plan before council. I am pleased to say that we are finally doing it. It's taken a long time, and that's probably why there's so many members of the community in the gallery tonight, because they've been in this journey for nearly 8 years to actually get to the point where the council has a plan. We are patting ourselves on the back, but just remember it was only in the last week that an AFL footballer believed that they could make a homophobic slur to actually get an advantage on a sporting field. So in Australia, we've got a very long, long way to go to actually understand how we should have equality and how we should have inclusiveness and how we should care for each other to a greater standard than what we've ever done in the past in Geelong. So the Rainbow Action Plan isn't the be-all and end-all. The community needs to keep the council honest about how it actually is adhering to its city plan, to its health and wellbeing plan, and to the community's own aspirations about being an inclusive society in Geelong. So this is an important step. It's a step in the right direction, and it deserves the unanimous support of all councillors at the City of Greater Geelong.
Councillor Aitken. Councillor Cadwell. Can't hear you, Councillor Cadwell. Can't hear, unfortunately. All right. Some sort of technical issue there. Any other councillor wishing to speak? Councillor Contell.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, I'll start with that I will be supporting this report tonight, and as others have said, we've talked about it as a group and also individually as councillors. And I'm certainly very supportive, as I'm sure everyone is around this chamber, in terms of inclusiveness, diversity, and making sure that people feel safe and welcome. And I think Councillor Sinclair suggested that what we need to ensure is that people feel safe, welcome and respected. And there's certainly initiatives within this plan that'll assist with that. I've equally been on council for quite some time and have been involved in a number of action plans, including the Multicultural Action Plan and the Aboriginal Action Plan. In fact, our inaugural Multicultural and our inaugural Aboriginal Action Plan. But what I've also seen is, as we attempt as a council to focus in on various groups within our community and try and put frameworks around those groups to ensure, at least in our mind, that we provide an environment that's safe, welcoming and respected, that sometimes also unintentionally we alienate others within our community. And so we need to be really careful of that and considerate of that when we execute on our actions. We need to make sure that, and I know that we will, but I just put it out there as a comment, that we do take the community on a journey with us and not just focus in on focusing on the particular group that the action plan is intended to assist, because if we do that, we will alienate and divide and we will create more silos, and that's not the genuine intent of the plan. We heard some of that even tonight during question time. We want everyone to feel safe, welcome and respected. And so I think the plan is a really good start to that, and we just need to be really considerate and conscientious as we execute on our actions.
Eddie Contell. Just on. Any other councillor wishing to speak? Claire, in closing.
Thank you. I think what this plan does really well, and what plans like these do well, is acknowledge the difference between equity versus equality. The law is intended, and legislation is intended, and inclusion is intended to look at everyone equally. But equity understands that some groups and some individuals face additional barriers, whether it be someone from the LGBTIQA+ community, whether it be disability, whether it be gender. There's a whole lot of reasons that historic inequality means that we're unequal, and that's why we have plans like this, to recognise equity, that we need to open doors for different groups in different ways. In bringing this plan to the House, to the Chamber tonight, I really want to thank the entire community who contributed to this plan over the last few years, including the nearly 700 responses that we've received for the last round of consultation, but also thank the LGBTIQA+ community more broadly for your contribution to our city, particularly in the arts scene. We would not have a vibrant, accessible arts without you, but also just recognising the way that you all support each other and your leadership in the peer support space. It's incredibly inspiring, and as Councillor Aiken talked about, that caring value that we have for our community, you live and breathe that every day. I also really want to thank the staff that worked on developing this plan. It's a really difficult job where you've got community expectation, there's community that wants to see it go further, there's community that doesn't want to see it happen at all, and you guys are all in the middle of it. The staff are also, seeing things on social media and seeing things that come through in the feedback that we get in consultation that does create an emotional burden. And I don't just mean some of the derogatory and homophobic remarks come through. Some of the trauma that comes through is really, really difficult to process, especially if it's personal to you. So I really wanted to recognise the staff that have worked on this, not just for the great work in the plan, but also that work that happens within yourself and behind the scenes for you to be able to deliver this. So congratulations to everyone involved. I invite every resident in Geelong to stand with us. As Councillor Contell pointed out, this is about inclusion, it's not about excluding anyone. So everyone's invited to participate this. No one is excluded from this plan. And together we can make Geelong a place where everyone is not just welcomed but celebrated.
Thank you, Councillor Sinclair. With that, put that to the vote. Those in favour? Need to just, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Not sure what happened there. So we move to then the next item. Thank you, everyone. We then move to the next item, the Youth Council second report. Could I have a mover, Councillor Aitken, a seconder, Councillor Story. Now, if I can invite the junior mayor up, Councillor Singh. Yes. Would you like to present your report through to the council group?
We, the Youth Council, acknowledge the Wadawurrung people as the traditional owners of the land on which we live, learn, work and dream. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and to all emerging leaders. We walk alongside the Wadawurrung and all First Nations peoples to build an inclusive and respectful Geelong and to care for country so it can thrive. We honour their deep spiritual connection to country, plants and animals, while the soil beneath our feet, the water in our streams and the sun rising in the sky carry stories passed down through generations. Good evening, Mayor Contell, councillors, CEO, executive directors, fellow Youth Council representatives and community members. I am here tonight to present the second Youth Council report on behalf of the Youth Council. The report begins with two personal reflections, one written by myself and the other by our 2025 Junior Deputy Mayor, Alana. In these, we look back on the past 6 months and share some insights and express our appreciation for being part of the Youth Council program. The next section covers the 4 meetings we've held since our first report. At these meetings, we have heard from a wide range of City of Greater Geelong staff about different strategies and projects, as well as from other organisations such as Headspace, Barwon Health, and Read the Play. Through workshops and group discussions, Youth Council members have been able to share our perspectives, give suggestions, and provide advice on ways to improve things that matter to young people. We have learned a lot from these guest speakers, and it is my great pleasure on behalf of the Youth Council to formally thank everyone who has taken the time to present to us. The report also outlines the events and opportunities the Youth Council has been involved in so far. The first was the Councillor Connect Mentor Program session, where we introduced our priority areas and discussed the issues we believe need more focus in order to better support the youth of Greater Geelong. We look forward to continuing these conversations and exploring our priorities in more depth at future CCMP sessions to help shape the advice we provide in our final report. One of our members also joined the City's morning masterclass panel, giving staff a deeper understanding of the Youth Council program and advice on how to engage meaningfully with young people. At the Community Conversations event, we got the chance to engage with community members alongside councillors. This was a great opportunity to see firsthand how councillors engage with the community and to experience responding to some of the questions community members raised. Some Youth Council members also attended the Deliberative Engagement Panel playback, where we were shown the draft council plan and learned how its success would be measured. Another highlight has been the public speaking workshop, where we developed skills and built confidence in speech writing, engaging with audiences, and presentation skills. In addition, several of us took part in the promotion campaign for the 2026 Youth Council nominations through both video and audio recordings. We've also been active in the NEST reference group meetings held every 6 weeks, and we ensure the insights from those discussions flow into our monthly meetings. Finally, the Youth Council also played a big role in promoting the inaugural Geelong Youth Survey by helping out in our schools, putting up posters, and encouraging young people to complete their submissions. We are really proud that over 3,500 young people provided their feedback, making this the biggest response to a city-led engagement from young people. This data will be incredibly valuable in the decisions we make in our final months, but also for future youth councils in the years to come. The Youth Council is looking forward to making the most of our remaining time in the program and participating in exciting upcoming events such as the Youth Awards. We hope to provide valuable advice in our next report and to continue to discuss important topics in our future CCMP sessions with councillors. Thank you.
Thank you. We may want to sit there while we go through. Councillor Aitken.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. I'm actually supposed to be talking about the report, but I do it every time it comes before us. I am so proud of the youth councillors that we have in the City of Greater Geelong, and this cohort is just elevated higher again. Aish is an example of 12 young people that we have in the City of Greater Geelong that are helping influence decisions that we're making as the council group. And as you can see from the report that you've actually heard, that is such a high quality advice and interactions that we're having. And it's not in the report, but just last week, a group of 4 of us spent 2 hours in dialogue with multiple members of the junior council, and those 4 councillors that were there actually said it was probably one of the most enjoyable experiences that they've had for a number of years as a councillor or a member of the community, because it was genuine dialogue with young people, and they were elevating their projects and ideas. And to give the broader community, I mean, we were actually shocked to be told again that vaping is still a major issue for young people in Geelong. I mean, we believe that the regulation changes that were brought last year, shifting vaping to pharmacies, had addressed the issue. And what our youth council actually said, if anything, it's actually increased amongst young people because there is so much addiction that's occurring with young people with vaping, and it's a real issue that we don't see at our level as councillors, but because of the Youth Council, we are getting exposed to that, and we are actually getting the reality of what is happening with the young cohort between 12 and 18 in the City of Greater Geelong. So, Aish, please take back our absolute fondness for what your Youth Council is doing, and please keep up the great work that all of you...
I don't want to disrupt proceedings, but I can see things. I can hear you. I think if you can hear me and see me.
We can hear you and see you. Yes.
We can hear you.
Couldn't before, Councillor Cadwell, but we certainly can now.
Can you hear me? The CEO will give you a call in a moment if you could have your phone on, Councillor Cadwell.
Okay, I believe you can hear me and see me okay.
Yes, we can.
Aitken,
Look,
with that.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor, but look, thank you to our Youth Council. I look forward to continuing to work with you in the second half of the year. Keep up the great work, keep being champions and leaders, and clearly in the future a number of the junior youth councillors are going to be leaders in the community because you're already leaders now, so thank you. Yeah.
Okay. And I think Councillor Story, who was you seconded? Oh, Councillor, was it Sinclair? Councillor Sinclair.
Just to echo Councillor Aitken's comments, we had a wonderful session last Wednesday. And I tell you what, if you want to relieve some of your anxiety about the future, spend some time with the Youth Council. They are collaborative, they are so thoughtful, they have really hardworking, so many issues. Like they're trying to solve the cost of living crisis. It's incredible and inspiring. So really commend the work that you're doing. I think one of the things that really stands out to me, and we heard it tonight, is the acknowledgement of country that you've developed, and we can hear every time you speak it that it's from the heart, and there is a genuine connection to country and to stand alongside the Wadawurrung people, and I thank you for developing that, and to the entire Youth Council. It's really a highlight every time we hear it. But yeah, also just acknowledging your work around vaping, around public transport, around environment. There's so many passionate ideas and really clearly articulating how some of these big issues like the cost of living impact you as young people. And your anxieties for the future, and you know, some of the conversations around being stressed that you didn't know whether you were going to be able to afford housing or whether you're going to be able to go to university, and having those be cost of living decisions that you would have to make is really like heartbreaking for me as an adult who's got a house and who has an education and never had to make that choice. So I really commend you for advocating and doing the work that you're doing and trying to progress change, and I think you'll be quite successful in the change that you want to see.
Councillor Sinclair. Councillor Cadwell.
Yes, thank you. I think you can probably hear me now.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, fantastic. I certainly endorse the Youth Council report. I endorse the previous report that was put before Council, so I'm sorry for that slight delay in the IT issues that we've experienced.
Councillor Cadwell, so in closing, is it in closing? No? Councillor Sinclair?
Councillor Wilkinson. But just to add, Mayor Singh and fellow youth councillors, it is a privilege to participate in those mentoring programs with you. It's so grounding. I was really impressed after a solid hour and a half of discussion. There was pizza, the smell of pizza wafting through the door, but these youth councillors were so clearly focused, just kept on asking questions, kept talking until we were finished. And we spoke about the importance of public and active transport, the strategies to support diversity in social and affordable housing, addressing issues of discrimination and bullying, and working on future-proofing and climate change. And you do really sincerely make the world a better place. So thank you for stepping up into that space.
Councillor Wilkinson. Any other councillor Story?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just very briefly, I think it's a great shame that the minimum age to stand for council is 18.
Anyone else? If not, Councillor Aitken to close.
I have nothing further to say after Councillor Story's very important remarks that he made, Mr Mayor.
Yeah, thank you for that. So we put that to the vote. All those in favour? So that's unanimous. Thank you again. Thank you for all your good work. Thanks for coming tonight. We next move to the draft Geelong waterfront plan. Councillor Sullivan moves. Councillor Aitken seconded. Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor.
We here in Greater Geelong are blessed with fantastic regions and items of great beauty all across the municipality. Some people might think the most profitable and well-known locations are the historic Yuyangs in the north, the rolling hills of Barrabool, or the fantastic Barwon Heads down there in the Conaway Ward, but it is in fact our grand waterfront down here. It's where we have the highest average tourist dollar spend down there, especially over the Christmas New Year period. There's a few things down that department that time of year. But overall, it does present the sweeping vista of the waterfront over the north-facing bay that we are very famous for. And I must say, I wasn't quite around when Jeff Kennett came down in 1990 and came up with a plan to redevelopment the waterfront. I think I was 1 year of age when Kennett and Henderson and I believe Anthony Aiken, councillor, were involved with the redevelopment after that as well. But since then, we're coming up to the second reiteration, or after the last one we did in 2011, for the next stage of the draft waterfront master plan. And it really presents an opportunity for the future. It's fantastic how it breaks down the multiple precincts along the waterfront there, and each with the unique characters they have, everything from cultural to artistic to more commercial areas as well, because they are all quite different, all present different challenges, but certainly opportunities. This master plan right now before us has been up for 2 rounds of community consultation. There's been some fantastic input in there because the waterfront is an area that our community does care for. It's one of many parts of our community that demands great attention, but when people and assets down there aren't quite to what people expect, they let us know. So that shows the passion in the community. A lot of great work has been put in this behind the scenes by the team. They've done a fantastic job as always. There's some fantastic designs in there, what we can look like in the future. So I'm very glad to see, or very excited to see what this may come of this master plan we have here right now. I'm happy to commend the motion for debate.
Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Aiken.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Sullivan. Look, the waterfront, as Councillor Sullivan said, is the jewel of Geelong. We are so lucky and blessed to have it. The master plan, really the message I want to get out is there is a real opportunity that the council is willing to be an advocate and supporter of private investment into the waterfront. And the master plan is now going out for public consultation. The waterfront was transformed in the late 1990s, but there still are a number of investment opportunities that exist on the waterfront. Of course, the most glaring one of those is Cunningham Pier. There was sadness of people that the pier as it exists now is essentially closed. But it actually opens up an incredible opportunity for someone, an investor with a vision and significant funding to be able to take full advantage of what Cunningham Pier could be. And of course, what Cunningham Pier could be is exactly what we see when we go in Hobart and we actually see apartments and we see activated spaces under those apartments. We have an immense opportunity to be able to attract an investor or investors to come to Geelong again and have a look at the opportunities that do exist along our waterfront, to invest into our waterfront and to revitalise the waterfront after the original investments that were made over 30 years ago. So the proposed waterfront master plan gives that opportunity. It identifies other site opportunities. It protects cultural and historic sites, in particular the Eastern Beach area as well too. It protects that particular heritage and respects it, but it also opens up an immense opportunity for others to come and have a look at it and say, how can we actually make Geelong an even better place? How can we polish the jewel in the crown of Geelong? And how can we actually further expand the attraction of Geelong that is going to happen with, the reality is the convention centre will be shortly opened within 12 months. And what is it actually looking at? It faces towards our beautiful bay and our beautiful waterfront. And we do need to actually give more activity and more opportunity to link the CBD of Geelong and all the investments that have occurred over the last 30 years with Deakin moving down to the waterfront, with the convention centre opening and with the revitalisation of our historic parts of Geelong on the waterfront. Now is another opportunity and this master plan gives an opportunity for that to actually occur. So I encourage the community to have a look at it, provide feedback on what you think we should be protecting and maintain, but also look at the investment opportunities that this master plan does give and help revitalise Geelong's greatest asset. Thank you.
Councillor Aitken. Anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor Contell.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, I agree with everything that's been said. This is extremely important. We know we've been talking about revitalising the CBD, and that is equally very important. We talk about that being the heart, and the waterfront certainly is the jewel. What we can't do is just take it for granted that the waterfront will continue to be pristine and as attractive as we'd always want it and like it to be if we don't put work into it. And it certainly needs some work. If you start to take a close look at the waterfront, the pathways, the connectivity, the flora and fauna, some of the access areas, they are in need of attention. And I think this plan does a lot more than that, of course. If you look at some of the harbour cities, even Glenelg in South Australia, you look at the connectivity and the pathways that they have, those shared pathways that stretch for kilometres and kilometres along the waterfronts. They are just amazing, and what that does for people's standard of living and livability is something that can't be really calculated, because it really opens up a whole new world. And we know that here in Geelong, when people are looking for a break or relief from the suburbs, yes, of course, they look to areas such as Lara and the You Yangs. Of course, they look down the coast, but most often, because of time constraints, they come down to the waterfront, whether that's to have a picnic, go for a walk, play with their children, come for a coffee, whatever that may be. Some of the events that we have that showcase the city, the 70.3 Ironman, the Cadell Evans bike ride, the Festival of Sales, and now with the, hopefully highly anticipated marathon coming up, we've got so much more potential for that waterfront. And so, as Councillor Aitken suggested and Councillor Sullivan, really encourage the community to have a look at the master plan, because it's not set in concrete, it's there for discussion. And we would really value your feedback, because it's a really important plan going forward for the next decade as we continue to develop our city.
Anyone? Councillor Kados.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd certainly like to see people's views on the draft master plan for the waterfront. Down there as a boy, we used to have the fish business on the waterfront, which was quite amazing when you think about it now. Where the convention centre is now was a wool store. That was demolished and turned into car parking, and now we've got a building that's even bigger. The larger waterfront hasn't grown since the time when Kennett came down and revitalised the area. It's really between Eastern Beach and Moorabool Street. Cunningham Pier really needs some work, but also really the only thing past Cunningham Pier really is the floating fish and chip shop. We said Malcolm. Yeah, I think that is the golden opportunity of this master. And in front of the convention centre, it is a great waterfront, but we could make it even more magnificent. Jewel in the crown, potentially. Done with the draft with the waterfront. The next master plan I'd like to see is our riverfront, because I think the Barwon River is also talking about the salt, not the fresh. So yeah, I'd like to see people's views, engagement.
Anyone else? Councillor Sullivan, in closing.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mayor, and thank you to all the councillors who have spoken in support of this as well. I mean, how often do people talk about the magnificent, fantastic, northerly sprawling views over the water from the Leopold ward, and they are fantastic, but it is the waterfront at the end of the day that is the jewel in the crown, as people have said. It is close to all of our hearts at the end of the day, and this is just another step in the continuing updating and maintaining of this fantastic facility that we all deeply care for. So very much looking forward to the community feedback. There's been a lot of good outreach sessions done already, but all in all, this is another step that we should be very proud of. Thank you.
So put that to the vote. Those in favour? That's unanimous. So go back to the draft Sovereign Drive Recreation Reserve Master Plan. Councillor Katos moves. Councillor Nelson second. Councillor Katos.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So obviously this is the draft master plan for Sovereign Drive Recreation. On the site there is an AFL oval. It's the Mount Dunedin Men's Shed. You do a terrific job there, all the gentlemen there at the winged oval, which means it's got two soccer pitches. It's a multi-purpose. It can have two soccer pitches, football, AFL football, or cricket. So it's a multi-purpose oval as such. The netball court's going to have to be moved because unfortunately with the additional car parking, we couldn't have a situation where you've got car parking, netball courts, and then more car parking on the other side. It would be a traffic nightmare, and for pedestrians and connectivity, it would be a nightmare. It'd be an accident waiting to happen if we didn't move those netball courts. Obviously, the pavilion going in as well. That currently is, I'd like to see a different siting on that, but I'll leave that, I'd like to that run between the two ovals rather than at the top end near the car park, but we'll let the community have their say on that as well. And then the other thing here, to deliver this plan is almost, it's 8.76 million in today's dollars. So it's a lot of money to deliver that plan, so we're going to have to seek the support of our state and federal colleagues to invest with the City of Greater Geelong to get this done. But look, I think it's a great plan, and it's multi-purpose. A lot of different sports can go there, which I think is very, very forward-thinking. I certainly encourage all the stakeholders and community to have their say on the master plan.
Thank you, Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. While I'm not the ward councillor anymore for this area, I was the ward councillor for over 7 years in Armstrong Creek, and I've just watched that area just grow and grow and grow. Within a 10-minute drive of this facility, or these facilities, lives 32,000 people. It is growing and growing fast. It's one of the fastest growing regions in the country, and we definitely need more infrastructure. As Councillor Katos said, the delivering of another oval with two soccer pitches on it, the expansion of the men's shed, which I opened in 2022. Back then, they were operating out of first an airport hangar, because that's where the Grovedale Airport used to be, and then they were operating out of a pool shed, and it was they had 27 members back then, and they've now up to 64. So even they're growing. You think of Armstrong Creek, and you think of young families, but there's a lot of older people moving, downsizing, going down to Armstrong Creek. So we definitely need more facilities there. So it's great that council is putting their hand up and investing in this community. What I am disappointed is in the state government has gone against building a secondary school next to this facility, which would have been just fantastic for that area. This community really needs it. So it's great to second this motion. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Nelson. Anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor Sinclair.
Just briefly, so this is obviously over the road from my ward in Charlemont, but is a site that is very well accessed by the local Armstrong Creek community. So we currently have three clubs that are accessing that as an overflow site. So the Bowen Soccer Club, the Armstrong Creek United Club, and the Sharks all use that as an overflow training ground. So it is significant that it'll be developed for the Armstrong Creek community. And as always, really encourage people to jump on and have a look and let us know what they think of the plans. So happy to see this come to council.
Anyone else wishing to speak? If not, Councillor Kados in closing.
Nothing further, Mr Mayor.
So put that to the vote. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. We move to item 2.5, Councillor Story and Sullivan's interstate travel to the Australian Local Government Association. Councillor Story moving.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Sullivan seconding. Councillor Story.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is essentially an update for noting of the attendance of my colleague Councillor Sullivan and myself at the Australian Local Government Association's National General Assembly in Canberra in June. And firstly, I'd like to thank you, Mr Mayor, for your unstinting support and encouragement that enabled Geelong to be represented at this important event, and also the work of the officers who facilitated it as well. As you know, there are 517 local government councils around Australia, and every year this National General Assembly brings a large number of representatives. This year there were 1,300 representatives at this particular conference. It enables the participating council members and mayors and councillors and council staff to engage with other councils, other similar officers, share problems, understand different solutions, and listen to some very engaging and thought-provoking keynote addresses, as well as a lot of the stuff that's done over coffee in the breaks. Both myself and Councillor Sullivan submitted I think fairly decent written reports with some recommendations, and I won't go to the full extent of the reports, but I might mention just one part that I think is pertinent to the previous wonderful presentation by our Youth Council Mayor. In her address, Her Excellency Ms Sam Mostyn, AC, the Governor-General, made a particular request of all councils present at this meeting, and I'll quote her: I want to understand how you engage with our democracy and the institutions of government that are the foundation of our stability, security and prosperity, and how you teach your young people about the responsibilities and opportunities of citizenship. Re-engaging young people with civics is a challenge I want us to face as a nation, and she wanted us to share our ideas, solutions and opportunities to address this great challenge. And I think, Mr Mayor, that we have a good story to tell with regards to our Youth Council over a number of years and the engagement of our city with the city youth and the engagement of councillors with that particular group of individuals. So I think it would be a good story to tell. So I won't go on any further about the reports. It's essentially for noting, but I'll hand over to my colleague.
Yep. Thank you very much, Councillor Story, and for the words you've said about this. It was a very educational experience. People may not realise, but rates and charges only make up 49.6% of our budget. The rest of monetary incomes comes from grants, assets, things that are transferred to us. And the ALGA up there is one of the best opportunities we have to actually have input into our advocacy to the federal government about how much money is put into the pot to be distributed amongst councils around Australia. You know, we're facing massive challenges in terms of looking after trunk infrastructure, piping, drainage, all these things we've talked about quite a lot in this chamber. Well, they're the real big issues that we need assistance from our federal governments, and we need assistance with our advocacy on these items as well. And this is where those conversations happen. This is where we come together as councils and say, look, we need more money for local roads and infrastructure grants. We need more roads for our drainage. We need more roads for community infrastructure. And being part of the conversation here actually helps us fight the case for Geelong and to grow the pie for Geelong as well. So with that, happy to support.
Anyone else wishing to speak? In closing.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Only to say that I think it would be worthwhile us planning for next year's event. Thank you.
Councillor Story. So put that to the vote. Those in favour? It's accepted and passed unanimously. So the next item is 2.6, the proposed sale of land, name of the old Sale yards, Councillor Aiken to move, and Councillor Katos seconding. Councillor Aiken.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. This is actually an historic decision for the council to make tonight, because we have come to the end of our community consultation process on what I believe is one of the most significant redevelopment opportunities in Geelong, and that is the sale of the remaining land, commonly referred to as the sale yard site. Just to go through history, in 2017, I was part of the council that actually said that this was our greatest rejuvenation opportunity in terms of provision of residential development in the CBD of Geelong, and we agreed to close the sale yards with the whole intent of actually selling this particular piece of land in 2017. Well, we waited then 4 years and we adopted our precinct plan for this particular site location, and that precinct plan actually set quite an interesting planning framework for the City of Greater Geelong at the time in 2021, because the council group said we believe that this site location should have a minimum of 10 stories. And it actually feared Geelong because the council group actually said this is where we should have extremely high density housing. And why should we have that high density housing? Well, it's less than 2 kilometres from the CBD of Geelong. It is less than 2 kilometres from the wonderful waterfront that we have. And it is less than a kilometre to the Melbourne Railway corridor in terms of the North Geelong railway station, and it's repurposing industrial land for the potential of up to 1,300 residential new people being able to live at that site location. So tonight is really historic for the City of Greater Geelong, because the site of this particular land will transform that location to be a new suburb in Geelong in terms of the opportunities for people to live so close to existing infrastructure that exists, and that is so rare an opportunity in Australia and in particular in Victoria, but we can do this with this particular site location. So I'm very proud to have been associated over the last 8 years with this particular site location, and I'm even more prouder tonight that we actually are making the final decision to actually sell the site location, make it available for an appropriate investor, and actually create a new suburb within 2 kilometres of Geelong. Thank you.
Aiken. Councillor Katos.
I think, Mr Mayor, yes, I think, as I concur with Councillor Aiken's comments, that it's gone out for community consultation, but it's now a golden opportunity to sell that site. From a development perspective, it's a parcel of land so close to a CBD. This Geelong CBD is really incredible when you look at it. It's good potential for infill development there. It's land that's no longer used for the original purpose. Council resolved to close the sale yards back in 2017. So I welcome the comments that have come back regarding the site, but it's now time to sell that site and move on.
Councillor Katos. Anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor Sinclair.
So we have a social and affordable housing plan that identified 49 potential sites for social housing. Three of those, only three, have come to council in the last 5 years, with only one progressing through. So I note that we have no plan or no process or policy to regulate the sale and assessment and prioritisation of how we select properties for sale. And I'm completely supportive of us selling assets to pay down debt. I think that's a clever strategic move. But I don't think our assessment of the properties that we're identifying for sale really drill down on whether they could or could not be used for social and affordable housing. And I note the report here does note that the PSP that's already in existence can guide how social and affordable housing could be developed in this in the sale yards, but it puts that responsibility on the developer, and there's no assessment whether council could use this land for social housing in accordance with our plan. So until I see more rigour around how we're identifying properties for social housing and which of the properties that we have in our community, in our asset pool could be used for social housing, unfortunately I can't support this motion tonight.
Claire. Councillor Wilkinson.
I also note that there are a number of submissions as part of the feedback that really advocated for social and affordable housing as part of this. And by not taking the opportunity as a council to identify and explore this further in terms of its usability for social housing ourselves, we're really relying on the developer to do that. And it reads within the report itself that this will be something that will need to be explored by the developer. We also heard tonight from the Social Housing Action Group that while we're, and from Tenniel Bradley, that while we're continuing to push for a mandatory inclusion percentage within these developments, we're still sort of left without being able to put a figure on that and really relying on the developers to come to the party. So I won't be supporting this tonight.
Councillor Wilkinson. Anyone else? Not. Councillor Aiken to close.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Look, I don't think there's nothing more needs to be said on the issue. It has been around a long time for sale. The precincts planned, a number of submissions were actually made by developers that talked about that they could and would consider putting social housing on that particular site, and it was embraced in the precinct plan. So it actually does talk about a commitment, and I know, yes, it is putting it back on the developer to do it, but I'm pretty confident that the utilisation of that site will actually have some affordable and social housing on it based on the precinct plan that has been adopted by council associated with the site location.
So put that to vote. Those in favour? Against?
That's Councillor Kidd.
So that's carried. Thank you. So we next move to Willis Street, Port Arlington Declaration of Charge. Someone move that. Councillor Story moving. Councillor Sullivan second. Councillor Story.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This report seeks a resolution by Council to declare a special charge scheme to co-fund the sealing of Willis Street, Port Arlington, between Brown Street and Harding Street, SRC 372.
Sorry, Councillor Story.
The proposed road construction and sealing works have been developed in response to complaints and a petition received from residents requesting to seal the road. Sealing this section of road will improve amenity, road safety and limit the impacts from dust, mud and stone scatter to the adjacent properties. I might, Mr Mayor, if you don't mind, just take you through a little bit of the community engagement for this, because it's illustrative of the processes that the city takes in accordance with its policies and its legislative requirements. A petition was received on the 16th of February 2024, and this demonstrated that support was warranted for the road upgrade under a proposed special rate and charge scheme. A further community consultation in August 2024 provided property owners with an opportunity to understand and provide feedback on the special rate and charge scheme process, designs and costs apportioned to properties to seal the road. Responses were received from 16 of the 27 property owners. 13 of that 16 supported the road sealing under a special charge scheme and 3 did not. Subsequent to Council's intention to declare a special charge scheme resolution at our meeting in January 2025, a public notice was placed in the Times newspaper on Friday the 14th of February 2025 with a copy sent to all benefiting property owners on Monday the 17th of February 2025. 3 submissions were received during the 28-day submission period following the advertisement. One submitter requested to have their submission heard by a submission review panel, which took place on the 10th of June 2025. It's important to note, I think, that the scheme has been prepared in accordance, as I said, with the special rate and charge provisions of the Local Government Act 1989 and the consultation requirements of the Local Government Act 2020 and Council's Special Rates and Charges Policy and Procedures. So an apportionment has been made for the costs. The total scheme cost is estimated at $504,789. Property owners will be required to contribute $378,591.75, 75% of the cost based on the apportionment of cost and special benefit to adjacent properties. The contribution sum of $126,197.25, 25%, will be apportioned in the 2025-26 financial year to commit to this project. So the resolution before Council is the recommendation, which is printed on pages 31 and 32 of our documents, and that we resolve to declare the special charge scheme as described on those pages. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Story. Councillor Sullivan.
Nothing further added, Mr Mayor. Councillor Story, as a local ward councillor, has summarised it all very nicely. Thank you.
Sullivan. Anyone else wishing? Councillor Wilkinson.
I just want to remind, because this can actually be quite a challenging process, while it is a very beneficial one in terms of getting really good work done across our city, but if people are experiencing financial stress, they are able to avail themselves of our hardship policy and encourage them to make contact if payment of this is difficult.
Councillor Wilkinson. Anyone else? If not, Councillor Story in closing.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Sinclair, for that pertinent reminder. Further than that, I'll put it to the Council. Thank you.
Put that to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. The next matter is the Marshall Precinct Structure Plan. So Councillor Sinclair moves and Councillor Cato second. Councillor Sinclair.
Thank you. So this motion seeks Council's endorsement to submit the Marshall Planning Scheme Amendment to the Minister for approval. And I know it's been a long wait for some residents and a long meeting as well for you to wait through to get to this item. So I do thank you for your patience. It is an important step in formalising the planning framework for this area and ensuring development in line with our objectives. So it's been a fairly challenging amendment to prepare. I think it's the last one in the Armstrong Creek area to come on board. There's been particular issues to work through around drainage. It's quite a low-lying area. And there were a lot of isolated lots in the area. So some issues that needed to be worked through that have led to it taking a really long time. There's some really great features in the new plan. So given the proximity to Marshall train station, there's a number of medium density housing. So we've got some diverse housing stock. What I also really like is there's some really beautiful remnant vegetation that's protected in the area. I think there's this beautiful walk just down Drews Road. I think it's called Smith Street, but it's not a street. It's just this beautiful little walkway with really beautiful vegetation, and areas like that will be maintained as part of the plan. So really balancing our obligations of environmental protections with the need for development and livability in the community. But yeah, really would like to thank our community members who have lived with this uncertainty for a number of years, for I think about 15 years when this was first announced. So 21 years, 20 years, which I just really want to acknowledge how stressful uncertainty can be, and you've been sitting here waiting for this. So really happy to bring this to the chamber tonight and present the amendment.
Councillor Sinclair. Councillor Katos.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, as Councillor Sinclair did indicate, this has been a long time coming. I know that the state government representatives back in 2005, 2006 were telling people, you'll be out of here in 3 or 4 years, it'll be all sold up, this will all be developed, but that never happened. And large part of that, and I don't blame Barwon Water, but it was at the time there was going to be precinct-based, it was water recycling and water treatment. Bonacci was the people who were doing that report. But then it ended up being Barwon Water was given the nod by state government, and unfortunately that meant that a new main sewer line had to be built from Black Rock to where Armstrong Creek is now. And that meant that everything had to be done in reverse. So this has ended up being the last precinct where anyone would have looked at a map and thought, hey, this is probably the first cab off the rank here, and so that was the logic behind it, unfortunately. But one thing that this does, this is an appropriate pace for a bit of density. You've got Marshall Railway Station right there, which has just been redeveloped. You've got a duplicated Barwon Heads Road. You've got shopping precincts. If you go, you can go into Grovedale, you can go down to Armstrong Creek, shopping precincts, so there's public transport. This is an appropriate pace, as in the structure plan, to put that height and density. Other areas of Geelong, no, but here, yes. And it will be a mixture. There'll be some conventional housing, and obviously that precinct next to the station will be denser. Some 1,660 dwellings. And probably the major change was there was initially going to be some bulky goods stores where the service station now is on the corner of, it's where Marshalltown Road runs into it, and I can't think of the street name of the road on the other side, but there's this Tannery, thank you very much. And then there's that was due to be bulky goods, but given that that was a panel that was said no, so that was removed, which is fine. There's plenty of bulky goods and shopping precincts around Geelong, so you've just got the service station there, which gives a little bit of amenity. But the other thing is that also at the panel, the developer infrastructure levy contribution was agreed to, which actually went up a little bit, so it's 1.213 million per developable hectare there. So that's been finalised as well. And I look forward to the property holders who wish to sell up and move on their way doing that. And I look forward to houses coming out of the ground and that good bit of density around the railway station, which I think is a sensible outcome.
Good explanation. Anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor? If not...
in the chamber.
If not, so Councillor Sinclair?
Thank you.
So we'll put that to the vote. So those in favour? So that's unanimous. It's carried. The next one is the Heightened Urban Design Framework. Councillor Nelson moved. Councillor Cato second. Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This hasn't been going quite since 2005. It's been going since 2016. So a long time coming. It's been through, and I think around 6 phases of community engagement. 6? I think 6, yeah, 6. Because Heighton Village was a key development area designated by the state government. There is, as I've just said, the pressure on Heighton, as in other centres such as Pakenham Street and Geelong West and Warm Ponds and the sale yards, as we've heard tonight. But Heighton is different. There's no train line there, there's no train line nearby. There's a bus, but it's only on one road, it's on Barrawell Road. I mean on Roslyn Road, not on Barrawell Road. So it's really different. And back in 2022, there was a lot of angst with regard to what the state wanted council to do, and that was 4 stories around the village, moving the library, removing clock tower, the roundabout, just changing the look and the feel of Heighton Village. And residents advocated against that with a petition. We heard there was a petition for 700 people earlier. The Heighton residents really came out in force, and there was 4,753 people signed a petition against height limits in Heighton Village. So the people of Heighton were really against what council was trying to do. So I put forward an alternate motion back in 2022, which was supported by every councillor but one. So that was the way that Heighton Village was supposed to be, which was 2 stories. Fast forward till 2025, and a panel hearing in May, which some members of the gallery attended. I think 3 of the 5 members of the gallery attended. And that panel agreed with the officer's recommendations, and that was to maintain the look and feel of the village at 2 stories. Now it's going back to the Minister for adoption after it hopefully passes this chamber tonight. I just wanted to thank officers for their patience and persistence. It's been a long road, as I said, 6 community consultations. I don't know any UDF that's gone through 6 community consultations. I wanted to thank the Highton traders for their persistence in keeping me up to date with what the mood and feel of locals was. I also wanted to thank local advocate Graham Hobbs, who's in the gallery tonight. He was the one that organised the petition, which got over 4,500 people. It's taken a long time. We're nearly there, but I think I'm going to have to say that Highton Village has been saved. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Katos.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I think Councillor Nelson's giving a very good synopsis of the history of what's going on. But what for the life of me I can't understand is why does the state government think that Highton Village is a key development area? It has no employment other than retail and some services. It doesn't have public transport. It doesn't have car parking. I can't for the life of me think why they think Highton Village and its surrounds are a key development area that should be developed. Exact opposite of what's going on at Marshall in the previous motion. That is an area which can take density and has public transport. So for the life of me, I don't understand why on earth they think that. Look, basically the height limit now in the village is set to 9 metres, 2 stories. So that's all been set, which is good. The other one, hang on, what was the other one? Oh, and also the other thing was the commercial zone was redone. So the car parking, that was more an anomaly. For some reason, the car parking was, I think, was residential zone, which was an anomaly around the city. So all City of Greater Geelong car parks, irrespective around the municipality where they are all zoned commercial. So that was more an anomaly. There's no evil intentions with that. So I'm glad, as Councillor Nelson said, it's been a long time coming. And I'm very happy to see that this is before the chamber this evening. But also like to go a little bit step further around Highton. Some of the developments that are being proposed near this village, I think we need to perhaps look at those. And I don't know if council can lead a planning scheme amendment, because people just live in the Highton area don't want that sort of density next to Highton Village, going 4 or 5 stories and apartment buildings. People are not interested in that. And it's not the place for it. There's no employment outcomes, there's no public transport, there's no parking. That's where we should be concentrating our firepower. The state government wants us to put growth. Let's put it where it can, where the local community can actually cater for it.
Thank you, Councillor Katos. Anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor Eddie Gontel.
Just very quickly, I guess I just wanted to also thank the community, in particular the retailers in that area. Nardis were very, very active and vocal as well in keeping us informed on the impacts that were going to be a result of the decisions that we were looking to make at the time. And it's the complexity of the UDFs that sometimes, as councillors, we don't quite grasp the detail. Packington Street was going on at the same time as Highton, and I think it went through about as many iterations, if not more. They're not simple, and I suppose the lesson for us is that we need to continue to consult with the community, particularly those that are living the experience, so that we get the best possible outcomes. That can become tiresome when it gets drawn out too long, but I think this is an example where we've got it about as close as we could get it to being right. And I do applaud Councillor Nelson, who worked tirelessly on this and tried to keep the various councils that we had over those years informed and educated on this area, because as we know, we get busy looking after the areas that we're elected in, and it's hard to be familiar with all of the goings on, and so you really look upon the ward councillor for guidance and advice, and I think Councillor Nelson did an excellent job in this case.
Anyone else? No, if not. Councillor Nelson in closing.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to reiterate my thanks to the council officers and the heightened traders we've almost got this right. It's almost perfect. Nothing is ever perfect, as Councillor Quintal said, but this is probably as close to that as we can get it. 2 stories, 9 metres is a great outcome. That's what the community wanted. We've listened to the community. Officers have listened to council laws and the community, and the panel has listened to the council officers. So it's a really good outcome. We just need the minister to sign this off. Thanks.
Nelson. So all those in favour? Anyone against? No, it's carried unanimous. We then move into a report entitled Drainage Inspection and Vacuum Drain Cleaning Plant Hire Service. So Councillor Katos moves, Councillor Aitken second. Councillor Katos.
Very necessary because stormwater drains do fill with debris, gravel. They do need to be pumped and cleaned out. So if that's not performed on a regular basis, then when we do get a rain event, drains don't function as they should, and we ended up getting unnecessary flooding. So a very important. Basically, this report before us will allow the Chief Executive Officer the authority to sign the contract with those who have tendered, and once that
Thank you, Councillor Katos. Councillor Aitken.
Mr Mayor, I don't know why I remember this fact, but we've got 2,450 kilometres of drains, curb and channelling pits, basins and other things in Geelong. And I can remember when it came to me 4 years ago when I said, we suck in Geelong, and it looks like we still need to suck in Geelong because we've got so much stormwater drainage. And this particular tender is essentially putting it out that we have to inspect that 2,450 kilometres of drainage, and we have to actually clean it up and make sure that it is working properly to be able to assist the responsibilities that we are trying to get rid of, by the way, in terms of stormwater management in regional Victoria. So it is a very important tender and contract, and we will call on these services, especially when we do have significant rain events or the provision of trying to prevent significant rain events associated with our drainage network.
Aitken, anyone else? If not, Councillor Katos. Closing. No. Put that to the vote. Those in favour? It's carried unanimously. The next item is similarly Landyfield Pavilion redevelopment and construction. Councillor Eddie Quintal moves. Councillor Nelson second. Councillor Eddie moving.
No, Cadwell's back now, so she can move it and Eddie can second it.
Are we here though? Councillor Cadwell, are you moving this one?
Yes, if I can, that would be great.
All right, Councillor Cadwell moves. Councillor Eddie Quintal second. So Councillor Cadwell.
Oh, thank you. Look, this is pretty straightforward, but very exciting. It's the purpose of the report is to award the contract for the Landyfield Pavilion redevelopment, which is a construction project for a contract sum of, I think, $800,000, which is pretty exciting. It's a massive redevelopment for Landyfield. It will see the development of a mixed-use, active-use for athletics, Little Athletics, Barwon Sports Academy and local sports groups, as well as obviously general public access, which is very exciting. It will see the development of a new 2-storey pavilion, including a grandstand, competition office, public toilets, change rooms, a canteen and kitchen facilities, social and community rooms, as well as meeting rooms and uniforms. So it's a massive pavilion that's well and truly long-standing, and very exciting to see that happening in the South Geelong Landyfield area. I know Councillor Quintal is seconding this motion, and I'm sure he's got a lot more to say about that, so I'll probably hand it over to Councillor Quintal, Eddie Quintal.
Thanks, Councillor Cadwell and Mr Mayor. I don't have a lot to say because you have said a lot of great stuff already, Councillor Cadwell, but I agree it is extremely exciting that we're now finally heading into awarding the contract for the development of this extremely important facility. We've talked a lot in Geelong about our, not only our ability but our aspiration to ensure that we have top-class, world-class regional facilities. We're talking about them in terms of basketball, we're talking about them in terms of hockey, we're certainly talking about them in terms of soccer, and Landy Field is deserved of that, particularly given the history that's associated. We know it's named after Australian middle distance runner, Olympian, and also Governor of Victoria, John Michael Landy, and the athletes that it attract and can attract into the future to showcase our capabilities in this space is extraordinary. Now, we've had the track done. I know the Mayor burns around that track quite often at lightning speed, but this once again provides an opportunity for us to attract more major events into Geelong and to continue to develop the great young athletes that we have coming through the system. I really thank Little Athletics. I also thank Kirsten Kilpatrick and Barwon Sports Academy and a number of stakeholders that, again, as I mentioned with Highton, that kept us educated, talked to us about what was important going forward in this sport and in this space. And it's extraordinary that we now are at the point of awarding the tender and getting on and developing it. We will all be proud of this facility, as we will with a number of the things that we've spoken about today. And I know it's tough to juggle the funding. We've got so many commitments and so many requirements, but this will be a great investment in sporting infrastructure and one that I think we really will look upon in years to come and be extremely proud of.
Councillor Eddie Quintal. Anyone else wishing to speak? If not, Councillor Cadwell to close.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think Councillor Quintal has highlighted the really importance of this event and of this pavilion and the funding that goes with it, and I hope that it will receive the support of the Chamber.
Yes, so I put that to the vote. Those in favour?
Unanimous. The next item is the North Ballerina Aquatic Centre Stage 2 Design and Construction. Mover Councillor Story, seconder Councillor Sullivan. So Councillor Story.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is one of the premier sporting locations in the city of Greater Geelong, in the beautiful Bellarine. And the purpose of this report is to award a contract for the North Ballerina Aquatic Centre Stage 2 Design and Construct project to the preferred tenderer. The background is that tenders were invited from the open market to deliver Stage 2 of this particular facility. And I think it's important to note that the project includes delivery of an indoor 8-lane, 25-metre pool with an accessible access ramp, a warm water pool with an accessible access ramp, accessible change rooms with amenities, a first aid room, gymnasium and group fitness rooms, a foyer, reception, administration and office, cafe seating, landscaping and associated pathways, and extended car park including 2 accessible car parks and refurbishment of the entry pavilion. The resolution and recommendation is before you on the screen, and there are sound legal and practical reasons for the recommendation being in the form that it is in order to authorise the Chief Executive Officer to execute this particular contract and any other documents required by or to give effect to the terms of the contract on behalf of Council. And as you're well aware, Mr Mayor, that until a contract is signed, sealed and delivered, it isn't signed, sealed and delivered. So hence the form of this particular recommendation which I put to Council.
Story. Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Story for now being the caretaker of this fantastic facility within your ward. This has been such a long project, and I remember when we were at the very beginning of it, to where we are now, looking back to what was an open space many years ago. It's incredible to see what we're going to get here in a fully functioning, serviceable aquatic facility, not just a pool, but a full-blown aquatic health and leisure facility for the growing residents of the Northern Bellarine and the entire Bellarine as well. When the idea of an aquatic centre in the North Bellarine here first came about, we were told that we were oversupplied with pools nearly because Splashdown in LeisureLink, or Splashdown itself actually, in Newcombe, technically supposed to service the entire Bellarine. It was actually, Splashdown itself, by car, is actually closer to Lara than it is St Leonard's and all the other communities in the North Bellarine as well. So this was a sorely needed and a sorely wanted facility. It was a long game we played with stage 1 and then stage 2. But when you look at the list of amenities that Councillor Story has read out, this is going to be such a blessing for such a long-term commitment to the Bellarine there. I mean, access to water, to swimming pools, facilities such as this has a direct correlation with drownings that we see, fatalities. And for Nation Get by Sea, it's so important that we have this here right next to the education precinct as well. I definitely want to shout out the former Councillor Stephanie Asher for getting this project underway and her leadership with stage 1. It was fantastic to get the stage we are right now. There are some slight variations done from the original plans that were put out from the working group, the working committee. Residents have been, voiced their sadness at the removal of a spa and sauna, but we did have to come up with a design here that made fit with the funding and requirements from the partners in the state and federal government. And overall, what we have here is a fantastic result overall. As I said, I'm just absolutely rapt to get the stage we are right now. I can't wait to see the diggers hit the ground again. And thank you to everybody, all the councillors, current and former, for the support of this project. Thank you.
Councillor Sullivan. Anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor Story.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Not much, except I can't remember who said if I have seen further, it's because I've been standing on the shoulders of giants. So we thank the giants that have come before us with their hard work. Thank you.
Councillor Story. So put that one to the vote. All those in favour? So that's carried. Drysdale Sports Precinct Stage 2. Councillor Story moving. Councillor Eddie Contell second. Councillor Story.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this report is to award a contract for the Drysdale Sports Precinct Stage 2 project to the preferred tenderer for the contract sum described in the confidential report at Attachment 1. And I think it might be pertinent to remark that in the past, this particular report and the 3 preceding reports would have been dealt with in the entirely confidential space of this council meeting. And in light of contemporary practice in local government and in the interests of further transparency, the important public information is now discussed in the public. And as I mentioned before, the parts that are necessary to be excised from this report due to pertinent legal and structural reasons are excised. So again, the City invited tenders from the open market to deliver new and enhanced local sporting facilities at the Drysdale Sporting Precinct, benefiting both tenant clubs and the wider Drysdale community. The project includes delivery of a premier rectangular turf pitch, including player shelters, and a minimum of 100 lux LED sports lighting compliant with Football Victoria guidelines. A rescaled sports pavilion, rescaled to cater for the needs of soccer, with future stages of delivery to cater for AFL and netball. I hope that's WAFL as well. New accessible pathways that provide step-free access from the pavilion to the sports fields. An unsealed car park that includes 3 separate accessible parking spaces that are appropriately positioned in close proximity to the new pavilion, associated landscaping and plantings, and improved road access to the site. And again, a significant upgrade to this particular precinct. And the recommendation is before you, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Councillor Eddie Contell.
A lot more to add, only that, again, it's another positive development, another positive report that we're adopting hopefully tonight. Just if you touch on the soccer pitches for a minute, we know that as of 2025, with the data that we gathered, that in the Geelong region we're down or short 30 soccer pitches. So the report that was up previously and now this one all contribute to assisting us to meet some of those demands. So great project.
Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Story and Councillor Contell for their words. This is absolutely a fantastic development in the Drysdale Sporting Precinct. A lot of great work has been gone to this from community members, club members, council officers and councillors ever since I've been on council. And I don't wish to diminish this fantastic step forwards. But this has been a project that's been live since before I got on council, 8 years ago, and now we're finally putting this money into action. It's been such a long process, and mostly, it's not because we don't want to spend the money, but the hoops we've had to jump through as an organisation, the amount of bureaucracy we've had to be able to push through to get this done, I believe is quite large. And we're seeing costs go up every day in terms of infrastructure, resources. We really need assistance as a sector so we can streamline these processes and actually get this money out into the community and spent in this infrastructure where it's sorely needed and where it's supposed to go. Everybody from all sides is trying as hard as they can, but this is a case where I believe, if we streamline these processes, if we cut some red tape, council officers will be able to deliver these results at the grassroots level where they're needed, and community members will have access to this infrastructure so much sooner. So it's been years and years, it kept on being pushed back because we had to jump through so many hoops. It's fantastic to see it done now, but I'd like to see major projects like this delivered sooner and to the best of their abilities. And this is the best we can deliver. It is a top-level infrastructure project there, but timing is always important, and when it's the ratepayer and taxpayers' dollars, it must always be spent efficiently and as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Sullivan. Anyone else wishing to speak? If not, Councillor Story in closing.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Not much more, except that I hope that when the lighting is installed, I'll be able to invite Councillor Sullivan to turn on the lights for the first time. Thank you.
That to the vote. Those in favour? It's passed unanimously. We then move to the Ocean Grove District Ride Centre. Councillor Wilkinson moving. Councillor Sullivan seconding. Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you. And we are pedalling ever so closer to the Ocean Grove Bike Park. Very exciting. So the purpose of this report is to award a contract for the Ocean Grove District Ride Centre. This sort of to the preferred tenderer for the obvious reasons in terms of confidentiality. The sum and the preferred tenderer are not named, but this recommendation allows the CEO to award that and have subsequent conversations and secure an agreement. The City invited tenderers from the open market to undertake the construction of the Ocean Grove District Ride Centre, which is in Kingston Park. So the project consists of bulk earthworks, ground hydraulic, civil works, rock form jumps, pavements, concreting, asphalt, polymer, track services, minor building construction, park shelter and a landscaping of the proposed site. So it's going to be quite transformative, and Yeah, and incredible. So the procurement and strategic sourcing team administered an open tender process on behalf of the major projects team. And yeah, the process in terms of evaluating and the methodology and the preferred tender are outlined in the confidential report. This is definitely a good news story from a very challenging time where there were a lot of young people on bikes ripping up local vegetation and finding ways of expressing themselves through lockdown. It's now quite a few years on, and we're so much closer to realising this Ocean Grove bike park in the beautiful Kingston Park.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Wilkinson, for a word and continued advocacy on this project. This all started back in 2020 for this project, when the Humps, which was a beloved sort of little quasi-bike track at the back of Barwon, back of Ocean Grove, was getting a great sort of use throughout lockdown, but unfortunately the area had to be flattened out for safety reasons. And then the local kids had nowhere to go to ride their bikes, and we all remember growing up, riding bikes was a key way of getting out the house and keeping active and mostly out of trouble. So a great bunch of community parents down there in Ocean Grove came together and formed a committee called the New Humps for Ocean Groves, and that's what started this push for a district bike centre down there. And I was proud to be able to meet with them back in 2020 and post that, secure funding in the next budget for planning of what this might look like. It then went through multiple groups, committees, engagements, with a lot of local engagement. The officers did a fantastic job in making sure that everybody came together on this process, whether you're initially entirely supportive of it, whether people had concerns. Nobody can feel like they weren't engaged on this. And now we've got a fantastic result here. And I'm no longer the ward member, but I do thank Councillor Wilkinson for continuing on with this fantastic one here, because this is a district level bike centre that will service the entire Bellarine, and people from Geelong and afar will come down to see this as well. It's going to be a world-class regional facility, I believe, in that regard, and that was the key aspect to this. It's taken a while, a long time, and I thank Ryan and the team and all the parents down there in Ocean Grove, because you don't get this sort of infrastructure quickly. It does take a couple of budget cycles. We went through some very interesting financial times here at the city, but this project is still here, it's still coming through. I'd like to thank all the community, all the councillors, and especially the officers that kept this one alive as well. This is going to be a fantastic result. Another feather on the cap for this area here, and shows that you don't have to be in the town of Geelong itself to have access to these fantastic regional class facilities. You can live in the greater part of Greater Geelong, out in Lara and Ocean Grove and the like as well. And I just can't wait to see this one completed. And I can't wait to see Councillor Wilkinson have the first ride around it, I think in a helmet and a bike. Full safety measures, I'm sure. But Mr Mayor, I commend this one. It's been a long journey, and just so impressed with the work done today on this one. Thank you.
Sullivan. Anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor Eddy?
Just a couple of seconds, Mr Mayor. As Councillor Sullivan was talking, I was reflecting on those times, and there were some amazing submissions that came to us from these young people that I think now would be probably 19, 20 years old. But that's how these things happen, and I again got to applaud Councillor Stephanie Asher, who was a big advocate as well. And yourself, I know, but Stephanie was also involved. And if you think about the pool before, if you think about Landy Field, if you think about this facility, it's all because of community feedback. And so it's good if we can continue to get that message out. That I know it sounds like a lot of hard work from the community, but that's how we get our guidance. And tonight's been a really good example of a number of projects that have come out of community advocacy.
Wilkinson?
Yeah, very well said, Councillor Contell. And I could see it in the frustrations of those young fellas or young women as well, when it wasn't coming to pass in the 6 months that they were really advocating, and even the years beyond. But I look forward to to smashing around on that bike track and inviting some of those 19-year-olds to do the same.
In their cars now.
To the vote. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Then we move to planning authorisation. Councillor Katos to move, Councillor Aitken second, Councillor Katos.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, these come to the chamber fairly regularly. As under State Government Acts, if someone's appointed an authorised officer, the CEO has to sign an instrument that does that, as you have to actually be appointed. And this evening, congratulations to Steph Nguyen, Che Goldworthy and Steve Conti, who've all been appointed as authorised officers. Excellent.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Aitken, anything? No. So put that to the vote. It's carried unanimously. Then we have a record of informal meetings. Councillor Nelson move, Councillor Sinclair second. Councillor Nelson, anything to say?
Nothing to say, Mr Mayor.
Sinclair, anything further to add? No. Anyone else? If not, in closing, Councillor Nelson, no. Put it to the vote.
Right, Mr Mayor.
So those in favour, that's carried. Then we have an item, if we could have someone move that we move this to confidential. Councillor Burson and Councillor Katos. So all those in favour? So that will then be moved into confidential. So that closes the meeting at this point, yeah? And we'll just close down the live stream and then we'll reconvene in confidential. It won't even take 5 minutes. We literally have one matter to deal with. It'll be done